Hello guys, I hope you have gone to this coding question. So the first question we'll be printing the value of the nth position of a particular series. So you need to understand the series first. So first thing is um, you can just split out this series into some groups. The first group it will be having the numbers from 0 to 2 power 0 minus 1. And the second batch will be having the numbers from 0 to 2 power 1 minus 1. And the third batch will be having numbers from 0 to 2 power 2 minus 1. So the series goes on like that. Okay. So for you can observe that the first number will be 0, and and the second one will be like 0 to 2 power 1 minus 1, right? So 0 to 2 power 1 is 2, and 2 power 1 minus 1 will be 1. So 0 to 1 you will be printing it. So like that the series goes on, and we'll be printing the nth position value. So let us now implement this using Python. So this series is much easier when you understand the particular pattern. Okay. The first thing is I'm gonna get the n value from the user, okay, and I'm gonna have an empty list. So I'll be appending all the values to this list, and at final I'm gonna print the nth position value. Okay. So while true, um, to consider the power values, that is 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3 we having, right? So to consider that power value, I'm gonna use a variable called x. So this will initially hold 0 value, and to count, I don't want the array to extend beyond n. So this is waste of time, right? So I don't want the array to extend beyond n, so I'm just stopping up to n characters. So to count the number of characters so far, I'm using a variable called c. So this will be initialized to 0 initially. Okay, and yeah. So y is equal to, so this will hold the last value of the particular batch. So for the starting batch, it will be going from 0 to 2 power 0 minus 1, right? So the last limit will be holded in the y variable. So 2 power x minus 1. So now I'm gonna append the values from 0 to y to the list A. Okay, so 0 to y plus 1. Since I have to also include the y value. And I'm gonna check whether the count value is lesser than or equal to n. If it is so, means I'm gonna append the value to a list, and I'm gonna increment the count. If it is not so, I want to change the flag value. For example, let me say I'm declaring a flag over here and changing the flag to 1. If the flag value is equal to 1, means I'm gonna break it out of the while loop, and x value will be incremented. It's like each batch will be, you have to increment the power value, right? So I'm going to increment the power. And lastly, obviously we'll be having only n elements in the particular a list, right? So I'm going to print the last element. So this will be obviously the nth element. So I'm going to just give print a of minus 1. Yeah. So let me just check. Just missed out some comment. So let me check out with the first test case. Perfect. So I'm done with in Python. Let me just do the same logic in C. I'm just gonna change the syntax. Nothing more I'm gonna do. I'll just remove this code. So here I need a header file sua.h for input and output, and man.h to compute the power. And I'm declaring a main function, and here I'm declaring the n value. I'm getting the n value from the user, and I'm declaring an array with n size. And here x is equal to 0 initially, and c is equal to 0 initially, and f is equal to 0 initially. And I'm declaring y and I. Okay. So while 1, so while it is true means I'm gonna compute the y value. So power of 2 comma x minus 1, and I will go from 0 to less than or equal to y. Okay. And here I'm gonna check if c is equal to n means I'm gonna set, and I need another variable called index so that I'm gonna iterate to the positions of the array A, and I'm gonna assign the value. So since we can't just like that append in C language as we did in Python, we need to iterate to the indexes, right? For that I'm gonna use index. So A of index is equal to I, and index will be incremented, and here C is also will be incremented. And else I'm gonna set the flag value if value is equal to 1. So outside the for loop, I'm gonna check if f is equal to 1 means I'm gonna break it out of the loop. And lastly, I'm gonna implement the x value. So out of the while loop, I'm gonna print the last element, that is a of n. So I'm gonna check with the second test case, it will be 0, and third case is 28, 30. Yeah, perfect. So we have done with the first question. So let us now move into the second question. The second question, like you will be given a size n, and you will be given n elements. Okay. So using the n elements, and if you need to consider that elements as a side of a triangle. Okay, obviously you can just out of the 10 elements you will be picking up any three, and you'll be considering on the side of a triangle, and you need to check whether you can form a triangle or not. Okay, so finally you have to print the number of triangles you can form using that particular measurements. So let us assume these as a measurements, n measurements, and using these set of measurements how many triangles you can form, that you have to print. Okay. So in the question itself, they have given like a triangle can be formed the side length. So you need three sides. So out of n, you can just pick out three, and this three elements need to satisfy some condition. If it is satisfied, means it is considered as a triangle. Okay. So first, let me just implement this using Python, and I'm gonna get the n value first, and then I'm gonna get the n elements. So list of map of enter comma input dot split. So usually I'm gonna declare the count value as 0 for I in range of n minus 2. Okay, since I'm gonna check, I'm gonna consider until n minus 2 only. So if a of I plus a of I plus 1 is greater than a of I plus 2. So I'm gonna check the conditions now. Okay, and a of I plus a of I plus 2 is greater than a of I plus 1, and a of I plus 1 plus a of I plus 2 is greater than a of I. If these three conditions are satisfied means I'm gonna increment the count value. And finally I'm gonna print the count. So let us now check with the first test case. 4, 4, 5, 3, 6, 2. Yeah, perfect. So now let us change the compiler and implement the same logic in C language. Step include std abort h while main int n scan percentage d comma ampersand. I'm going to declare an array of n size, and here I'm going to get the array. Array is equal to 0, I is less than n, and a plus plus. I'm going to get the n elements. Okay, so then I'm going to check. So I is equal to 0, I is lesser than n minus 2, and a plus plus. Okay, and I'm going to check the condition. So if a of I plus a of I plus 1 is greater than a of I plus 2, and a of I plus a of I plus 2 is greater than a of I plus 1, and a of I plus 1 and a of I plus 2 is greater than a of I, means I'm gonna increment the count. I didn't declare count yet, so I'm declaring a count. I'll initially with 0, and finally I'm going to print the count value. Yeah. Okay, I missed out bracket. Yeah, I didn't include a plus over here with the mistake. Yeah, so let's now check with the second test case. Okay, we didn't get the desired output. Let me just check where it go wrong. Contra. A of I plus a of I plus 1 is greater than a of I plus 2, and I plus 1. A of I plus 2 is greater than I plus 1, and a of I plus 1 plus I plus 2 is greater than I plus of I. Okay, yeah, I did a minor mistake that I should not include a space over here. So let's now check it again. 4, 5, 3, and 9. Yeah, perfect. So you can just check out with other test cases, and you can give your random test cases too. Yeah guys, I'm done with the two coding questions of this week. So if you have any doubts, you can reach out to our discussion.